I'll admit it. Hmm.
Fucking sore throat, gang. Don't get sick. Yeah. Hey. So my name's Baby No Money, and I got lots of.
Baby, no
Yo,
money.
babe, how you get that money? Yeah, you numbers going crazy. Hurricane wrist, got some diamonds gon' break. About to bounce back, stack a rack, I ain't lazy. Might just pull your mommy, cause I heard she want my grape. Where them bad girls at? 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 I need a nice bitch, acting like a misfit. She's really about the distance. Have you seen my thrift fits? Your wrist game need assistance. What you want for Christmas? Deliver you some litmus. Mumbling prolific, but I'm studying linguistics. Mommy's in my place, I do not really know
Hello,
logistics.
hello.
Why your future thought be telling me I'm narcissistic? Digging
There
at
we
your
go.
heart till life be kinda futuristic. Yo, baby, slow down.
Bum, 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 bum.
Girls got better when we blew up. We was ground floor, now we got a shoe up. Now I want more. BB just flew up. He brought 3 girls, all 3 knew us. I got a hunch, whole lot of crushing going on. Every time we come up, blushing going on. Roll up to the spot,
This is kind of slowly turning into a felting project, low-key.
on my whole army. And they
Bum,
think
bum, bum, bum.
charming. Trying to click, 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 I'll be honest. Trying to hit, I'll be honest. Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad girls at? Where them bad girls? Where them bad
I
girls?
think we're going to make our goal of getting rid of all of this tiny yarn, because this took a ton of yarn to do all this. Hey, yo, what up, Max? Yeah, I couldn't remember what time I had stream scheduled for. I could have sworn it was 7 initially, but now it's 8 p.m. As is tradition, I'm late as fuck to stream. This little hat is turning out so good, you guys. Although I think I am gonna do more of like an over ear style, I guess, for the other one. I ended up with a bunch of like loose threads. Ugh. Ugh. Pop these in here.
That's so low key. We got baby no money. We got Langer. We got Bulls. Rare. Yeah, whip beat 007 like I'm sophisticated. Fit on me, expensive foreign fabrics. I'm sophisticated. My girl bad as hell. I wipe that shit. She's so sophisticated. My
This
girl
turned
so
out so
sophisticated.
cute.
So sophisticated.
Although it does kind of look like a wizard hat, like a little bit. I guess I should leave these scissors. These are sharp. I should leave those open. Now, I think I'm gonna have to do like maybe elastic or like a barrette situation to hold these on. But let's do the cross pieces on the bottom to keep all of that stuffing in. I think mostly this is just gonna be like needlework actually. I did get a little bit of my arc reading done today. So I'm on chapter 4 of book 2 of Tales of the Swordsman. Mostly the thing that's slowed me down on that is turns out that I am a better audiobook reader than I am a traditional reader. Just because I'm like moving around a lot and stuff and I can't, not that I like can't focus or anything like that, although some of it is that, but I just, I find a lot of my time is like traveling, like driving or just generally like moving around and doing stuff. And it's hard to like traditionally read when you have to do that all day. So I kind of got, how do you read an audiobook? Well, basically what I do, because I have an iPad and an iPhone, is that I set it to the accessibility settings and then I do speak screen and I basically have Siri read my book to me if there's not an audiobook available. Now, what would be really cool is if there was an audiobook of that particular book, which I think there is, but it's the quality on it is not what I would like to see, unfortunately. I get it, like being a smaller author and stuff like that. It's a real pain to get audiobooks out there. But that would be really sick if that was an audiobook. I think it would be a really cool, like, animated series, personally. I'd be very interested to see that once they got that figured out. No, of course, this yarn has come apart. But it's like giving, if you ever watched, like, Samurai Champloo or whatever, it really has kind of that vibe to it. But I've been really enjoying that series so far. I'm on book 2 of, I think right now there's 5 books actually. Or maybe he's coming out with the 5th book. For sure there's 4. For sure there's 4 books that are in existence for that series. I still have to read Haunting Adeline too. I've been avoiding that specific book. So far, only my aunt has read that book, but everybody else in the book club is still behind on that as well. So at least I'm not the only one that hasn't gotten to it yet. But I kind of overcommitted myself to the books that I could actually complete while launching my own books. So that was quite silly of me. But I will keep that in mind in the future. I think that I get to these points where I'm just like, oh, I could do that. Like, that's not that big of a deal. And then I get like 2 or 3 tasks stacked on top of themselves, and I'm like, oh no. Like, that is one of the most impossible tasks that I've ever given myself. And then it's like, I just feel silly, you know what I mean? Because, like, realistically, it doesn't take me that long to actually read books, but to like have my brain work and not be doing like two or three things at a time really hampers my ability to do that. Like when I was reading through um, the most recent book in the Aragon series, in the Brisinger series, I still have like a little teeny piece of yarn on my tongue. But when I was reading through that last book, oh my gosh, that was such a slog. I had it on like 2 times audio and I was just like muddling through it. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, then I read that his editor either quit or is no longer with us. So that explains a lot of stuff stayed on the cutting room floor that like could have gone and made that a like much quicker read. Because I think the pacing was kind of slow in that particular book. Like it wasn't bad. Like he's a good writer, but it's just like so slow. You know what I mean? Just really kind of drags on, and it's like, yeah, we get the message, but we've got another 6 pages to like go over it. You know what I mean? So I feel like if they would have clipped some of those moments, it would have like kept the story more like kind of on beat, if that makes sense. So those are the kind of things that I think of when I'm writing my book, and it's like, you know, I try not to just be like just a hater for no reason. I try and, you know, learn learn some of these things for myself so that I don't like fall into these pitfalls. Oop, that's too high up. Because I feel like, you know, just generally people tend to have this thing where they're like, you know, they have a bunch of opinions, but they don't like put them into practice. So then it's just kind of like, you know, like once again, it's just kind of like being a hater, you know what I mean? But if you can actually implement the criticisms that you give to other people and utilize them for yourself, that's actually a much better form of growth, I think, to, you know, achieve a near godly sense of accomplishment is probably one of the ultimate goals, is it not? Okay, so we're pretty good around this corner. I don't think I have a single little bit of red in here. Nice. Yeah. Nice. This is like it should be. This is like low key looking like this sorting hat. Like that's a cute little Santa hat, yeah. Fatty. Oh, oh, you made the mistake of sleeping too close to mommy. Come here, baby. So cute. What a good boy. Get up for Fatty. He's like the #1 clothing model in our house. He does so good. He just has such a good temperament. Yeah, you're basically mommy's rag doll. Yeah, see, mommy made you a hat. You want to check out this hat? My little sleepy otter. So cute. I feel like, I don't know. Do you think this is like a little bit small for him? Maybe when I make the next one, I make it like a little bit bigger because he has like a more regal head and I don't want him to look silly. Yeah. Oh, you're such a good sport. You know that, Mr. Kitty? You're a real good sport. He's like, I'm trying to take a nap and you're bothering me. Right out of the string wrap it on it. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I'm just mostly trying to check and see if like I should make like the hat itself bigger, because like hubby was saying maybe I make it big enough to like put little ear holes in it and it just sets on top of their head. Yeah. Oh, don't worry. No, no, I'll set you gently back down in your blankies. Hold still. No, there you go. There's your cutie. Okay. There's an next one I think we're gonna make bigger. I mean, like 50% larger than this one, I think. You know who this would look cute on? Squirrel. I bet that's a squirrel size one. We're basically recreating like it's not the Three Little Pigs. It's Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Yeah, that's what we're up to. We're doing some Goldilocks hats basically for the cats. There's... Look, it's finished. No more red on the sides. That took forever, by the way, to get all of the red pieces done. Like way longer than you would think. Oh. Sneeze. One. Oh, no. One. Yeah. Two. So this little device is actually pretty handy because I have the wrong size fingers to do this and have the proper tension. So this thing helps so much. Like honestly, it's sped up my crafting like a ton. Because when I was making chickens and stuff like that, it would take me like no joke like 2 hours just to get this little ring started. Because if you don't have the tension right, they're all like wonky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take one more. 6. Come through this. Oh, and speaking of our last stream, we were trying to figure out what like gift food for new parents was. They decided on enchiladas. So I will be making my mother-in-law's enchiladas, which solves two problems for me because one, this is just the DMCA free this is DMCA free baby no money. I'll send you the link, you guys. Great for streaming because he released it for streaming. I'll put it in the stream chat in the Discord because Streamlabs has been weird. What color enchiladas? The enchiladas I think are like, I don't know, kind of verde. It's like a white sauce sort of enchilada. They're really good. It does like a womp. Wait, no, that's general chat. My bad. There we go. But they're really good. Big fan of her enchiladas. And it's like, the ingredients really matter, so I can't just be like, oh, we'll do like a can of chilies. It's like the specific type of chilies and the specific this and that is really important to when she makes those. Like I told my buddy, I was like, hey, I was gonna make lasagna, but like your lasagna is the best. He doesn't even remember his recipe for lasagna. Like, how dare he? He literally just threw together like some of the best lasagna I've ever had. And now I have no way of replicating that. What a monster. Or 4.5. Yeah, let's do 4 instead. See if that's easier to get in. Okay, now we have our little ring finish. This low key sounds a little bit like Aaron Paul. I know it's not, but it sounds so much like him. Like if Aaron Paul got into rap, I feel like this is what it would sound like. Guys flow straight Breaking Bad style. Also, like a little bit like Deantward. Cookies, peanut butter cookies, nice. You know, I did just get her recipe for peanut brittle. Have you ever had that? Or is that a white thing? It's like it's like hard caramel. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So good. I think she also does like a peppermint bark situation as well. So good. You know, peanut butter is hubby's favorite type of cookie. I'll probably put some peanut butter cookies in that recipe book as well, just because they're so popular. Why am I not able to like get into this? Not here. Figure your life out, crochet. Like if you guys had to describe like what is your favorite holiday like dessert specifically? I haven't decided if I'm going to do like coconut cake and enchiladas same day, because that would be pretty awesome. So I told my friends like, oh, there's a potential surprise dessert. So it's either going to be this Midwest Jello salad, which if I'm being honest, like I don't think I'm like totally nailing it. Um, but that would be like kind of whimsical. Milk and cookies. Oof. And like her chocolate chip cookies. I mean, if I'm being honest, like don't tell my mother-in-law, but I think like hubby's chocolate chip cookies are better because he does like a technique that makes them crunchy on the outside and chewy in the middle. And that's, I mean, you got to do like some extra steps to get that going for cookies. Do the math. Do the math. I feel like there's a way to, let me see. I think you can do beats per minute on these. Yeah, I mean, her cookies are good, but like, I think his cookies are just a little bit better. Can we do, I wish I could, just, yeah, her cookies are really good. I think, once again, I think her raspberry thumbprint cookies are probably some of my favorites. And her lemon blueberry cookies. Those are really good. So those are for sure going in the book. But I'm trying to think like what other cookies that she makes that are just like insanely good. Regular, double, regular, double. I accidentally told that old woman up there that goth girls like to make jewelry out of animal bones, but luckily I passed the dialogue check, so it wasn't weird. but we ended up talking about um like sustainable living and stuff like that, and I was like, oh yeah, because she was saying something about I don't know how we got to talking about it, but it was basically there was so if you find like um if you find like roadkill and stuff like that, there's a special permit that you can get from Fish and Game where you can harvest that meat so it doesn't go to waste or whatever, or you can like harvest the bones or what have you. And we were talking about that, and I was like, oh, that'd be perfect for goth chicks because they like making jewelry out of like animal bones. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like, whoops. No idea what's going on here, so I'm just going to tie this off. That is not my problem. If you could see the insides of like any of my crocheting projects, it is a nightmare. And then I'm just gonna flip that inside and we'll never speak about it again. Yeah, there we go. So I think I need to make this like a wider like triangle situation for a Santa hat, yeah? Regular. I do want to know what my mother-in-law puts in her fruitcake though, because that stuff is fucking transcendent. I've never had a fruitcake that good in my entire life. Fruitcake has like pretty universally been kind of ass, but her fruitcake is so good. I think she puts in amaretto cherries. Real big fan of. Back in the day when I used to have alcoholic beverages, um, really big fan of amaretto sours because it basically is just like maraschino cherries. But I don't know how she can get that to taste like that because it's amazing. Because usually fruitcake just like tastes like all of like those nasty like pickled fruits almost that you can get at the store around the holidays, but so good. Whatever she's doing to that is like amazing. Regular, double. Regular, double. Plus, I don't think a lot of people like do very much holiday cooking and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it's gonna be up to like our generation to like bring it back. Because I feel like everybody in our parents' generation kind of got spoiled. And they like got all of this stuff and they sort of took it for granted, and now nobody can cook. And the holidays are kind of lame. Like, straight up. The holidays are kind of lame now. And we can fix that. We just have to get this cookbook finished, and we'll have all of those like old school like granny classics, and we'll know them. And then they'll be digital, which means that it'll be very difficult for them to disappear. Because like some of the cookbooks that she's getting these recipes out of, like the original ones and stuff. Anybody want a smoke detector with dying batteries? Um, are you sure that's why it's beeping, Max? Are you sure it's not are you sure it's not a cultural uh smoke detector? Are you certain that it's that the batteries are going out? Also, sometimes I feel like, depending on the location, that might just be a short in the wiring. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know how, like, the East Coast gets down, but there's no way there's just that many people not replacing the batteries in their smoke detector. Like, that shit's crazy if that's the case. But I feel like it's probably, like, partially a wiring issue and partially people just not replacing the smoke detector batteries. I live in the, yeah, I figured. I've never had a white person ask me about a smoke detector ever in my life, except for okay, one time. I was living with one of my girlfriends in college, and her house like fogged up like crazy, and we were like, "What's going on?" And it turns out that her apartment, well, her slumlord rather, hadn't winterized the basement, like um, any of the exterior like walls of her house, basically. And so the moment all of the snow melted, it just flooded the basement, which is where the water heater was at. And so there was like a foot of water in her basement. And so she had, but now I need to probably, no, I think I need to do doubles on everyone now. We don't replace our batteries. Well, you got to, or they'll make that annoying ceiling bird noise. Now, I personally just don't start fires in my house, and so I just like straight up take the smoke detector out. But if I had like a fireplace, I would just do all that. So another thing I think a lot of people don't do is they don't have like a big binder of like shit they've got to take care of in their house, like when to change like the external like filters and stuff like that, and you know, a thing of like all of the um all of the like electronic model numbers and stuff like that, like shit that's a real pain in the ass to go just like find maintenance wise. So if it were up to me, I would have a binder of like, you know, where all the smoke detectors are in the house and when they were last changed. And then I would have like regions of the house color coded. I would have like when the refrigerator filter and stuff like that was last changed and all that. And that would just be a master like map essentially to the house. So like if I fall through some sort of time portal or something like that, whoever like has you know the the pleasure of like upkeeping my house while I'm like in another dimension or something like that knows like what's up. That ain't shit to me. Um, um, like essentially like an ultimate guide to like keeping your house in order. You know what I mean? Ooh, also an inventory list. Like even an inventory list of all of like the household cleaners and stuff like that you need in your house. You know what I mean? Like I want to know like to the milliliter how much pine sol I got in my house. This is gonna be a ginormous hat. Like I feel like I've not done the math on this properly at all. It's gonna be enormous. I can't count worth of shit, you guys. This is gonna be huge. Oh my gosh. This might have to be a hat for like a dog or a child. You ready to do your run, babe? This is gonna be devastated. The orange boys right now are just outlining hubby. Cognitive behavioral therapy? Is that the one you meant? cognitive behavioral therapy is just basically like, hey, have you tried not being a dick to everybody around you? Which I think is medically hilarious. It's like, hey, have you tried not being an absolute nightmare? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That, mm, I don't know. It's probably fine, but like, I can't really get like the idea of like a soft tissue injury like out of my head with that. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to cause like lasting like physical damage to anybody, but yes, I guess I would say I'm like, I don't know, like decently familiar with that, I suppose. Once again, Max, if I had a nickel for every black dude that asked me about that, I'd have like a bunch of nickels. Like, y'all say you guys don't have culture. You guys got a culture for sure. The freakiest things I've ever been asked are from black dudes. Crazy. And also some of like the nicest people ever, which is hilarious. Like, not blacks just generally, but like the guys that ask me these questions are like just like the most cinnamon roll guys ever. Like, are y'all punishing yourself for something? I don't know what that's about, but oh yeah, eat your dinner, fatty. That's good. Or your brother realizes that there's some down there. He's taking a nap right now, so you're good to go. Okay, so this is gonna be a pretty big hat. I need to see. I need to go up to I think 3 is when I start going up so that I can widen out the brim. Crazy. I don't know if I can go that high, but we'll see. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think this is just gonna give it a wavy texture, which I don't know if we're trying to do. We'll see. We might have to pull all this out. 1, 2, 3. Also pretty telling that you're asking me that while I'm holding crochet hooks. Like, bro, you crazy. What if I can only craft witch hats? Like, what if that's the only crafting recipe I know, you guys? What if that's all I got in my arsenal? Oops, accidentally made the cats pagan hats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Built different. Crazy. You listen to any Kendrick, Max? Or are you a Drake man? That's really the dichotomy, because I don't think you can be both because of how hard they beef. That's like the Biggie and Tupac of this day and age, which, oof. But okay, now I think I can go back down to. I think I can just double it and that'll be okay. I think I'll go to doubling it. One, two. Mhm. Yeah, I did that back in the day. There's this like, you ever been in the military, Max? That seems to also be a pretty common denominator. I don't know what they're doing in basic training, but like, dude's eating it up. Hi, baby. Hey, come here. Does this? Hey, come back. Does this hat fit you? Come here, handsome. You want this hat? Yeah, come here. Maybe you wear this little hat for mommy. Come here. No, come here. You're fine. He's like, there's too much stuff over here. I don't want to knock it over. Come here. I know. Mommy made a mess. Kind of my whole thing. Come here, Mr. Kitty. Come here. Daddy. Kitty, kitty. Come here. Yeah, come here. Come here. Right here. He's like, I don't want to lay on your canvas pants. I want like a nice soft blankie. That's fine. Hey, look. Look, I've created a little spot right here. Interesting. Yeah, you're the first guy that's not in the military in black that's ever asked me these questions. Isn't that wild? I will say this, that makes you an outlier to my data set. Yeah, I think, I don't know like a ton about basic training, but I feel like it has something to do with these little instructors like laying on people's backs and stuff like that. Oh yeah, what the hell is oh yeah. So we were playing The Last of Us the other day and we were talking about how Owen, one of the secondary, I would say secondary or tertiary characters or whatever. He's like a late 20s, like 30-year-old man romancing like a preteen to a teenager, which is crazy. And it's not even like a historical like thing where it's like, oh well, like she's the sole heir to like this, whatever, like how they do in The Witcher, which totally makes sense because she's the last surviving heir of the Cintran throne, Cirilla, and the people that want her are older, but that's just because one, they either don't have other children to pair her up with and they want the power from her region, or two, they do have heirs, but they don't want to give their heirs control. So they're like, oh, I'm just going to like essentially like screw my kid out of their inheritance and like undermine them by having a child that's like fancier than them, I guess. Crazy. Yeah, this sounds so much like whoever is doing this, would this be the hit? I think this would be the hook. Sounds so much like Aaron Paul. It's crazy. And once again, like I don't even think that the characters in specifically The Last of Us right now would be like what I would consider hot either. So it's not even like this guy's like just like can't help himself around like, some young supermodel or something like that, which I guess I would understand more. It's still creepy, but at least I can understand it more. But the fact that he's like grooming these two mid girls is crazy to me. Yeah, he brought her to the aquarium. No, not only did he bring her to the aquarium to kiss her, he brings her to the aquarium and then gets all butthurt when the child does something that's like age appropriate, where she's like, "Hey, this is a lot," and he's just like, "Meh, I'm just gonna be here all cranky and pissed off about it," and I'm just like, "Yikes, yikes." Because I guess here's the thing. I could understand a guy like just getting like caught up in the moment and then be like, oh shit, that was inappropriate. Like reel it back. That's like mad inappropriate and like has to recenter himself or something. Maybe. But like the fact that he's like, there's a moment where he could have the clarity of thought to be like, this is what I'm doing right now. It's massively inappropriate. And he just refuses to take that L. He refuses to take that L. And then puts this, gaslighting bullshit onto this teenager to be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just gonna be cranky here, and it's just like way to try and coquette your way into a teenager's pants. Gross. And it so much tries to frame her as like she's a mature for her age girl that's like, essentially like tries to give her this whole chosen one kind of vibe, which they do with like every female protagonist now, which is like ridiculous. Yeah, he kissed her first, but once again, he put himself in a position to kiss her. He put herself in that close proximity so that like even if he didn't, like the tension's there. He's well within intimate space, and it's like, and plus the sing-songy way that he's like talking to her the whole time and stuff like that is just like 10,000 red flags going off in my head where I'm just like, this is massively inappropriate. Like if she had like, and also I don't like that her dad is like shipping them together. Like her biological father is like, hey, so what about this young man that is objectively like here's the thing. It's one thing for your daughter to have like a crush on like an older guy, but it is an entirely other thing for you to like condone that kind of a relationship. Like I'm glad Joel slit that guy's throat. That's fucking crazy for him to be like, "Hey, this guy in his late 20s has the hots for you. Like I can tell you have a crush on him." And he didn't seem like, yes, his dad's he first that's a grown man. Like when they're playing on the Ferris wheel or whatever, that is like straight up a grown man. Because, like, I work with teenagers. They don't look like that. So, uh-oh. Oh, no. I accidentally just... You know what? We're just going to make this into a cute little toadstool, I think. That's kind of cute. Yeah, we're just going to make this into a mushroom, I think. It's just going to be a cute little mushroom toy. Before I just use up all of this yarn. Because this is a cool shape, and I don't want to waste that, but... B-O-1-B-B-N-O $sign. That's me. That's right. That's me. That's right. I am H-I-M. The Gen Z Eminem. Yeah, her dad knows that that guy's older than her. And he's just like, yeah, like he's basically like, giving his blessing for her to get like groomed by an older man, which is so creepy to me. Um, yeah, so I'm actually totally on board with the fact that Joel iced that dude because that guy's like straight up like. And here's the thing, that's like unfortunately that's the thing that like might happen in real life is like people are just like, what's the problem? I have a family member that tried to be like, no, age gap relationships were totally a normal thing like back in the day. And I'm like, no, they weren't. That's just a thing that people like say so you don't have an awkward autismo knows that's just an awkward thing that nobody wants to talk about, and so then they just act like it was normal so they don't have to have an uncomfortable conversation at the dinner table when you have a grandfather that's like 40 years older than his wife and she's like you know 50 or something like that. Like it's and like I get it, like I get not wanting to be like, oh yeah, grandma was groomed or whatever, but it's like, do you think we get away with this gray? This mushroom, or it's got to be white, huh? It actually should be cream, but ooh, I wonder if I can make this into a little gnome. I accidentally made a little mushroom. Oh. You know I'm the shit boy. Come here. Oh, you know what? We can make this into a little pepper. I don't know why we would do that, but we could make it into a little pepper. It'll be a lot less. Would be a lot less yarn. What do you think? Pepper or mushroom for this? I feel like this is like a little pepper. Oh, and it's so obvious that she's lying when she says that. So when they're like, so the doctor is talking to the leader of the rebels or whatever, and he's like, we gotta cut this kid's brain open. And then the rebel leader's like, what if it was your daughter? And then, of course, she's in the doorway. So she can't be objective, right? Because she's like trying to back up her dad, which, by the way, she's backing up her dad who's like not even on her side. You know what I mean? Like her dad's like, absolutely, I would sacrifice my child for a potential cure. Not even like a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. Like nothing in science is a guarantee. If you actually follow like the scientific method and stuff like that, you can't guarantee any of that stuff. It's only like I hypothesize that this will be the outcome, but you can never introduce certainty into it because it can be like it can go one way 100 times, and then for a variable that you haven't taken into account, it'll be completely different. And then that's the whole point of science. It's kind of like low key, kind of a fuck around. You know what I mean? Because like who can say it'll go this way or that? And a lot of that has to do with funding and like who's funding the studies and stuff like that. A lot of the times, like that's kind of like the dark element of the science industry is because it's like if Coca, if like a soda company or something is funding a study to see if it's actually totally rad to like, drink this product every single day, you're gonna definitely have like different results than if that's not the case. And to say that that's not going to be something that you're going to encounter is just ridiculous. So for him to be like, I absolutely need to cut this child's brain open is just crazy to me. Because like you don't actually know if you need to cut that child's brain open. You just suspect that that's the case. And good enough for him, you know what I mean? And so then his daughter is put in this position to be like, okay, well, if I want my father's affection, like I have to support him. And at no point in this story does it seem like he's doing anything for her. Like he can't be bothered to tell her that he's at the zoo in the very beginning. He can't like he's like real like underhanded about this whole like clear like seemingly pedo that's after her affections. And he's just like, yeah, like that'd be cool if you guys got together. Like he's a good dude. I'm like, good dude. He's like creeping on a 14-year-old. Cause like I'm pretty sure canonically, Ellie is like 14 when you start the game. So if they're around about the same age, right? Then I guess maybe it's possible that she's like 15 or something like that. And it's like, I sure freaking hope that she's at least age of consent because my God, like can you imagine pitching that to the animation team? Like, yeah, I mean, I want you to have like this guy knacking on this person. And it's just like, what are the ages of this? Like, maybe we need to get to a point where like the people coding these games together are like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing a scene where like an adult sized animation character is macking on a teenager. Like, I'm not doing it. We maybe just need to get to a point in our lives where they just are like, what is the writing team doing? No, we're not going to do that. Like, I think that these people have just had too many green flags for too long, And then they're just like, yeah, I mean, why not? Like, and then I don't know, maybe some of it's just them trying to push the envelope or whatever, but it just seems like so heavy-handed and creepy. And for what? Like, it doesn't make me enjoy the game more. It makes me mad. Like, it makes me mad to have like purchased a game where like they are trying to make me feel empathetic for a character that's like, and like maybe that's the case. Maybe they're just like, oh, you should feel bad for her. She's groomed and her dad's dead. And it's just like, I don't feel bad for her actually. I mean, probably. Like, why else am I in an interracial relationship like day one in this game, basically? And not the one I wanted, by the way. Which, let the record state, I don't have a problem with interracial dating in the game. I have a problem with the fact that they insisted on it being an interracial lesbian couple. Do you want to know what the percent chances of that are, by the way? Like, infinitesimal that that would be the case. It's actually far more likely behaviorally that this girl would pick a guy that more so reminds her of Joel. Like, not that she would be like behaviorally a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. Exactly. So like Jesse's right there. And I think if the writing team had any sense in their head, they would have tried. Like, here's the thing: if you want to make a game where there's like a lesbian couple or there's a gay couple or whatever, I'm not saying don't code that in there because like they did all that work for Baldur's Gate and people liked it. People enjoyed that, and I'm absolutely gonna play through and make the boys kiss. But I don't think you should be forcing that into anything because if anything, it makes people dislike it. You know what I mean? That's like part of the reason why I was so hesitant to get the game initially, is because like I don't want to be forced to do all that in a game. Like I've been in homosexual relationships. I don't need that to enjoy entertainment. But like the fact that it's being foisted upon me really pisses me off. You know what I mean? Because it's like I do this stuff to like have a bit of escapism. I don't want to have to like, have that like crammed down my throat every time I'm playing a game. And it is like almost every time you play a game. Like, God forbid you have a straight person. You know what I mean? And like, I was watching The Mighty Nine the other day, which I'm sure some of you guys know. And if this is spoilers, like, spoilers. But, the wizard guy is in a polycule, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Because, like, that didn't make me mad because he's a wizard. Like, wizards are low-key kind of like... It's a bunch of fruity dudes reading books in a castle by themselves for a long time. Like, I feel like just generally magic users are going to be like on the fruitier end of things because when you're dabbling in necromancy, I doubt like traditional, we draw the line at animal cruelty. I can forgive sexism, racism, but animal cruelty we will not allow. And really, the crux of that, Max, is because animals cannot defend themselves, but people can. And usually, I'm not saying every time, for the fucking bean soup people that are gonna get in here, usually, there is a reason why people are not being treated well. Now, I'm not saying there isn't the off chance where somebody's just getting a bad rap of it, right? But generally, if someone is an uninvited guest, there's a reason. Like when we were at the bar, you know how few people are not permitted to return back to a bar? So when they're like, oh, this guy's not allowed to be in here, you're like, oh, he had to have done something. And it was never like, oh, well, he just looks like this, so he's not allowed to be in here. It's like, no, there's a pattern of behavior where we've gotten to a point where we're no longer accepting this group of people's business. You know what I mean? It's got to be a certain set of behaviors that happen over a period of time where people are just like, you know what? We don't need to have this kind of an evening. Whereas I don't know that I've ever really had that experience with an animal before because, like, for the most part, if you treat animals well and you have a, a modicum of common sense, the interactions are pretty much obvious, you know? But people will deceive you. I think there's a famous quote actually from from the late great Steve Irwin, where he says, I think, and I'm probably butchering this quote actually, but he said something about like, I prefer crocodiles because at least a crocodile is just going to try and eat you. He's not going to try and be your friend first. You know what I mean? Because people have a history and a habit of trying to deceive others for their own means and gain. Whereas animals, for the most part, it's like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I want to find a mate. You know what I mean? So, in video games, if you are not also working off of basic behavioral psychology, then like, what are you trying to do telling me how these people would act and how this would that? Like initially in The Last of Us Part 1, where she's in an interracial relationship, which once again, clearly I don't have a problem with interracial relationships, but you know, this yarn is so tiny, you guys. It's just like, and it just wants to fray and turn into like 10,000 different tiny screens. Like, buyer beware if you buy yarn off the internet because oof, this is a nightmare. But in The Last of Us Part 1, the very first age appropriate crush this girl has, black kid, which, whatever. In an apocalypse, you're gonna probably run into a handful of different people. They're in the cities, probably going to be a more diverse area. So you're probably like Boston, like maybe there's, I've never been to Boston, maybe there's more black people there. But like if they were in Atlanta, her running into like a black person would not be like weird at all. You'd be like, yeah, that tracks. That's like part of the population density of this area. So they run into the first age appropriate kid. He's a young black child and he's like about her age. And so you're just like, okay, cool. So they're teasing that like this might be like a romance thing. Like maybe his like guardian passes and like they group up and then like they go to the next area together or something. You don't know, right? You never know how the game is gonna go. Except you can usually guess. But then they were like, nope, we're gonna kill this kid off because, you know, obviously we're gonna kill this kid off, I guess. Then the very next scene you see is this like, aha, you were stupid for thinking that maybe her and that kid would have had like romance because it's like he's being really flirty with her, like she's being kind of like, I guess she wasn't like super overtly flirty with him, but like, you know, they're like back and forth a little bit. And then like the very next scene you see with her like with a age appropriate like person to date or whatever, it's like a black chick and that's fine, but it almost like the way that it comes off in the game is like, oh, you're stupid for thinking that she would like maybe have a crush on this little boy. And it's just like, oh yeah, I'm the stupid one for thinking that something that happens like 80% of the time was going to be where we went. Like, oh, way to subvert expectations game by basically like hammering it over her head like, oh, you thought you were playing a skate character. Fucking wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't think that that's like really a good way to treat your fans because it's like, you know, I've been bisexual my whole life. I don't need that in a story to make the story good. The story just needs to be good. You know what I mean? But like hammering it over people's heads. And they had a perfect opportunity, by the way. They had a perfect opportunity at the very end of that game to not make them kiss. And why can't they just be best friends? You know, and, oh, the reason why they can't be best friends is because no one's doing that for their best friend. No girl is fighting across the front lines to like get like a squirt gun for her best girlfriend because she's gonna go join a militant cult. That's just not happening. You know what I mean? They're like, well, how can we put these girls in a position where they would do those things? We're gonna make them gay. We're gonna make them gay because being gay basically makes you a boy, right? Like that's how we're gonna do this. We're gonna make the characters gay, and then we can just gender reverse them because like that's how people are. And I'm like, not really. No, actually. I know like a decent amount of gay women, and they're not just boys that are in girls' bodies. That's not accurate at all. They're still feminine. They just like are in relationships with women. Maybe they have like slightly more masculine hobbies, but they're not men just because they like other women. Like, what are you talking about? And same with gay guys. Just because you're in a gay male relationship doesn't make you a woman. Guys, you tricked me into being political. How dare you? How dare you, guys? You actually don't have to trick me. It's kind of my default state of noticing things, unfortunately. The autism compels me, but like I don't view my gay friends as being women because they're in a homosexual relationship. That doesn't make any sense. Because a lot of that stuff just goes down to kind of personality. And I really don't think that, you know, one aspect of your life means that you are physiologically like the equivalent of like a different species. That's crazy. Now, I do think that there are instances where we could draw species lines, but that's probably a little bit too political. And I think the way we would do that would shock you, but probably not surprise you. And it has to do with Florida Panthers, actually. But that's all I'm going to say about it. Mm. I don't know why we're so hard. I don't know why it's so difficult for us as like as humans to categorize things. Like we can categorize so many things, but like we do a real bad job with categorizing people, which is really weird to me. That seems like one of the easier things to categorize, isn't it? You know, that's the thing you know the most about. Yes, I'm sure you would like to hear more about my understandings of the world and such, but unfortunately, I feel like the TOS on here would bring that to a screeching halt. Like, there's a reason I don't go into like politics. One, because I just have no taste for it. Because it all seems like kind of a colossal waste of time, really. Like, you can have really good ideas, and it's not going to go anywhere or do anything because people have a vested interest in things not working and being shitty. Because if things are working and they're not shitty, then they wouldn't have a job. So it's kind of like, there's a phrase for that. It's job security. You know what I mean? So if they solve like the homelessness problem or they solve like, the economy, then what would they do? Well, we wouldn't really have any use for them, would we? We would just be like, why are we paying this person six figures to do pretty much nothing now? Like, the problem can be solved with relative ease, they just won't do it. And part of that is because we have a subsect of people that have like near suicidal levels of empathy. That they're like, well, this is how everything should be. And it's like, okay, well, the system can't function like that. And they're like, yeah, but what if it could? And I'm like, well, it can't. Like, this thing doesn't scale. Like, especially socialism does not scale. Like, you get to a certain, I remember what, I think that was in it. I want to say that was on one of the comedians that I was watching the other day, but socialism doesn't scale. You get to a certain size of a community and you're basically just like, yeah, fuck that guy. And that's why it doesn't work. Because eventually you won't have enough in common with other people. And if you don't have anything in common with them, it's like against our nature to help them for the most part. Now, some people just have like the default NPC, like proximity awareness, it seems, where somebody just gets within a certain couple of feet of them and they're just like, oh, hello, adventurer. Is there anything I could help you with? But like, that's not normal. You know what I mean? Because if it was normal, you'd be like the chickens that I get from the feed store that just walk straight into the barn cat's mouth. And the barn cat, by the way, couldn't believe her luck. She was like, oh my God, these pigeons are so stupid. They literally just walked right up to me and I just dispatched them with ease. and the rest of them just stood there waiting to be dispatched. Craziest thing I've ever seen. This cat was bewildered in my chicken coop. She was like, oh my, is everybody seeing this? Like, she was having a full-on existential crisis after having just devoured like two of the three of these chickens. She didn't have quite the appetite to eat the third rooster, but I was just like, yeah, this has got to be a real trip for that cat because, she's used to having to like seek out pigeons that like don't want to die and then, use her predatory wiles to capture and kill and eat them, right? But yet these feed store chickens have had such a privileged life, and privileged in a sense that like they don't really have a concept of danger because like that's been bred out of them for one reason or another. Maybe it's to make them like easier to process or something like that because yeah, I mean that's what you would do. You wouldn't want to have to chase something down that you want to eat, so you would make it as docile as possible. But that comes with the caveat that when a predator presents itself, those are the first animals getting eaten. I have 30 birds in this chicken coop. Those three Tractor Supply chickens were the first things that she didn't touch a single other bird, and she's just sitting in the middle of my coop like it couldn't have been that easy. Why would they just stand there while I eat them? This is crazy, right? And then I walk in there and she goes, oh, thank God, a consequence for my actions. Because, like, this is not making sense. This cat is, like, full on having a meltdown in my chicken coop. She's like, what? It can't possibly be this easy. Like, something's got to give. And then I show up and she thinks, oh my gosh, I'm going to be punished for having eaten these chickens. Finally, the cosmic consequence for me having the easiest kill of my life. And then I just picked her up and I'm like, oh, who's a little chunky cat? And she was just like, what's happening here? And I was like, oh, did you enjoy your dinner? I'm quite cross with you for eating my chickens, but at least it's like, part of the ecosystem of the farm or whatever. Like, you're not like an animal that's like gone against what is within the parameters of what you're permitted to do here. Like is essentially like, I would have eventually culled those roosters anyway and like made them into like cat food essentially or human food, I guess, depending on, the meat quality. But I wasn't pleased that she ate the one and only hen of that group of three. But, you know, there's worse ways for her to have exercised her rights as a barn cat. But she just like could not fathom that there would be not a single consequence for a literal free meal. And that's how you know that like the things that we do in society that are against our best interests are not natural. Like these are purely artificial that we can even do these things to the level that we do them. Because if this was happening in the natural world, there would be a swift consequence to these things, like being eaten by a predator or having your entire lineage die out. So there's actually, while I'm thinking about this, I'm going to drop this in the stream chat, you guys. It's one of my favorite channels for these kinds of theories. It's not a theory. Oh, interesting. There's a version of this for hawk dove simulation. The evolution of aggression. I'll go ahead and copy that and pop that in the stream chat. So basically, yes, like aggression is selected against because if you're too aggressive, you will eventually meet others that are super aggressive and you won't be able to get enough resources together to like propagate your lineage or whatever. However, I think it's important to note that if you have too much passivism in a society, you create a system where we end up in the middle of this bell curve, and that's a bad place to be because that's essentially like tons and tons of predators actively selecting against altruism and things that are objectively good for like communities and such. And yes, it over time writes itself because aggression plus aggression over time is not sustainable. But I mean, just look. Where's this graph? Show me the graph. YouTube.
In this video, we're going to start exploring.
Where's the graph? So there's there we go. So there's ooh, there we go. There's Graybeard altruism. Copy. There we go. They're basically trying to like quantify how advantageous it is to just like give away your shirt. You know what I mean? To just be like, here you go, to like literally anyone that crosses your path. And spoiler alert, it's not great. And I mean, historically, when you would read stuff like that in, I mean, ooh, a good one that is more recent is if you guys are familiar with Game of Thrones, when the Hound is going through the kingdoms with Arya Stark, he's trying to like I can't remember if he's trying to return her or something like that. I don't know, or he has her as a captive or something. I think he's trying to like keep her safe or something like that. I can't remember. It's been ages. But the Hound is going through and they stop at this farmer's place and the farmer's like, "Oh, well, you know, you can stay here and you do this stuff for us or whatever." And he helps them and then I'm probably not remembering this right, but basically the concept is like dangerous man goes to farmhouse. The farmhouse has very little to sustain him with, but they say, "Hey, we'll share with you if you help us do these things because we're weak and frail and we can't do this stuff." And then he says, "Okay, cool." And so chooses um he chooses peace when he could do violence. And then later on, when they're making a loop back to this area, they see the consequences of someone that just took from these people. And I'm pretty sure that they're horrifically murdered and like the child starved or something like that. And the dad just like, I think, unalived himself or whatever. And so, sorry about that. I just like slipped into newspeak because we've had like a solid decade of like propaganda towards it. I'm pretty sure you can say like murdered and stuff like that because that is like the technical definition of those things. But who can say? Until I get a strike on here, I really don't know like what the actual rules are because that's another thing. Enforcement of the law is the law. If the laws aren't being enforced, then they're not the laws. You know what I mean? If if it's, for example, if the threat of consequence is all that's holding you from doing something and there is no consequence over time, that's no longer a consequence. That's just an illusion of a consequence. Like, that's why we have fences and have had fences for like tons and tons of years, because if you're just like, hey, don't come over here, over a long enough period of time, there's not really a reason for me to not come over there. So a fence creates a geographic barrier for you to be able to think about the consequences of like, I probably shouldn't go over there. This fence is putting up a physical barrier to tell me like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go over there. In the absence of fences, we just wander, right? Because why wouldn't we? There's been no consequences for doing it before, so why wouldn't we continue to do it? And oh, almost got into politics again. Let me just walk it back. But point being, you cannot just do rampant altruism. And so the audacity that, circling back, I think, the audacity that this doctor would be like, yeah, of course I'm going to just like develop a vaccine with this mushroom girl's brain. It's like, you don't, first of all, up until this point, I'm pretty sure that fireflies and wolves and stuff like that have just been like murdering people. So it's like, how are these people going to get these vaccines anyway? You're just like opening fire on these people as they like come up to the buildings. So it's like you're perceiving everybody around you as a threat, but then you're like gonna do altruism by making this vaccine. Like, how are you gonna make this vaccine? How are you gonna distribute this vaccine? You don't even know the effectiveness of this vaccine. You could be making a super zombie because these people aren't vaccine compatible when you're giving out this like is it cordyceps? Not cordyceps, is it? Myconids, basically. So you're giving out this myconid vaccine, and like you're not even sure if it's gonna work or not. So then your daughter's like, oh well, like I would want you to use my brain if we had a vaccine, and it's like okay, like we've already shown that like you're absolutely cool with this adult man like romancing your teenager, and you're okay with slicing up a teenager's brain. So it's just like unfortunately now you're my enemy, like because our morals are so diametrically opposed that like I can't possibly rock with you because you're gonna make decisions that I don't agree with, and now I can't trust you. You know what I mean? So I fully believe that Joel was in the right. And then this game does like such a piss poor job of putting me in the shoes of this child and making me like believe that she's been somehow wrong. Because as far as I'm concerned, still in the story, I'm fully justified in what I've done. Her dad sucked. This guy that we shot in the aquarium, he deserved it. Okay, first of all, he came at me when obviously I have no intention of shooting this girl. If I wanted to shoot that girl, I would have shot one of you. First of all, if I had rolled in there, somebody's getting shot in the leg, probably that dude, so that he can't come up on me. I'm shooting that guy in the leg so he can't approach me. Now, I would try and miss the arterial, but I am snipping at least a good chunk out of the side that goes up and down. Oh god, yeah, this is crazy. You really jumped in at a crazy time. I've really spiraled. I was trying to make this into a little Christmas hat. So I was trying to replicate this, but it's going to be ginormous because I can't count. And that's kind of a pretty big thing in crocheting. So now we've like gone into the weeds, like to a crazy degree. But, you know, I would have probably tried to immobilize him, ideally in a way that's not like permanent. You know what I mean? Just so like he can't hobble around real good, but not that he's gonna bleed out immediately. And then that girl is probably gonna be less likely to approach me. And then I'll just be like, hey, mark on this map, or like you're next, or whatever. And then if she does some wacky shit, then this guy's not also gonna come at me because he's gonna be struggling to walk in that moment. And that's like I would imagine getting a hole blown through you would be pretty difficult to maneuver with, but I could be wrong. I don't really understand fully the adrenaline capabilities of an adult man. I just know that they're stronger than me generally, so you would want to weaken him. And then that girl coming at you, all crazy, ridiculous. First of all, that girl's like 8 months pregnant. Like, does she think she's doing coming at an armed attacker? Like, she's a gun. You don't rush a gun. What's wrong with you? And then, of course, she's real quick with that knife, too. It was insane. Or was it? No, that would have been her knife that she tried. So she's like trying to stab you, and then you're just like, absolutely not. And then you just ice her straight up. And then, which by the way, she's like 8 months pregnant. Why is she in the field? Like, what is wrong with these people? Like, they're concepts of things that would be appropriate. Like, I certainly wouldn't be letting people do that. I'd be like, no, if you want to contribute, you contribute like in the area here at the compound. Like, no, you can't go on missions. Like, uh, we're fighting a twofold battle against armed intruders. Like, no, you can't go onto the front lines. It's ridiculous. Like, you're also potentially growing the next generation of survivor, which there's not that many of them. Like, they have a whole facility. Why does she need to be going out and doing? There's plenty of things to do in the camp. This is a massive camp, also. Like, they have agriculture, they have medical tents, they have like armories and like an occupying army basically. Like she doesn't need to be going out in the field. That's crazy. And the fact that she thinks that's acceptable to do when she's like 8 months pregnant is bananas. Like you can still work out when you're pregnant because I know a lot of girls that were in Muay Thai and stuff like that, that as long as you keep pace with the activity level that you were at before you were pregnant, like you can still kind of continue that like very safely, honestly, until like a certain point, and then you should like withhold like doing certain activities and stuff like that. But in fact, my nephew or whatever, he came out and he would be like in the pack and she would be doing drills and stuff like that. And because it's like that movement and that like surrounding like atmosphere was so familiar, he's like just like asleep while she's like going through drills and stuff like that. Really cool. But just so crazy to me that she would even put herself in that situation. And then to like rush someone with a gun and a knife is just like clearly this girl has made it through like several of these frontline enemies, and you think that you're just going to go toe to toe with her. That's preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. But then, like, you know, the game also has to make a situation where Ellie just like loses her mind or something. Like you're both simultaneously like a capable assassin and also a complete moron, because who is stabbing someone in the vocal cords before you're trying to get information out of them? Like, what are you talking about? So the moment she goes up to creepy pedo Owen, she's like, "Where is she? Where is she?" And he's like, "She's," and I'm pretty sure we can be relatively certain that what he's saying is that that other girl is pregnant. That is what I think that he's trying to say, because I don't think he actually either for certainty knows where Abby is, and he's certainly not going to tell you after you've presumably murdered this other girl. But I think his last dying breath was to like try and make Ellie feel bad that she'd like killed a pregnant chick. Personally, that's what I think he's trying to get out. But guess what? We'll never know because she stabs him in the vocal cords. Like, who does that? Like, it doesn't even make sense from like any of the. First of all, he'd choke on his own blood, so he's gonna be totally useless anyway. Like, you're not getting any information out of him. That's an instant KO. Like, he's just done. Fatality. Like, no more rounds. And she's just like, oh, let me just check this girl's pockets in this puffy overcoat. Like, what, do you think she's smuggling a Christmas ham there? Like, what did you think was under that puffy jacket? Do you think she's just like overweight in an apocalypse? No, it's a guy and a girl in a secluded, cleared out aquarium. Like, use your brain, Ellie. Like, why would they possibly be the only two people in here? And he's trying to like keep you away from her and all that. And it's just like, it seemed pretty obvious. Like, I feel like if you had hidden the very first scene where she like tells you that she's knocked up in the game, if you'd completely hidden that for me, I bet I could have told you that. I bet that I could have been like, oh no, you don't want to like. If we had like a choices situation like The Walking Dead, which by the way, I think that that might be the next game we play. It's either going to be The Walking Dead or Killer Frequency. We're either going to do a mystery murder game that involves the radio, or we're going to do, because I know you guys liked watching Has Been Hotel. You guys want to add some radio demon kind of vibes to the stream. I get you. So we have we have Killer Frequency available to play next, and we have the entire Telltale Walking Dead collection to play. So if we get a choose your own adventure thing, I bet you I just ace it every time. Because just like The Wolf Among Us, like I have, I think, the appropriate amount of street smarts to be like, I'm pretty sure this is what's up. And I also feel like I have like adequate enough tactical knowledge that like if I'm not physically like VRing in the game as my own self, I feel like I could carry pretty hard on that. But first person shooters just have like too much sway and stuff like that. And I think that's partially because like the characters don't have the weapon seated properly, because like I've never been at a range and been like like, oh, I hit the middle of the target. Like, who's shooting like that? Like, center your stance. What's going on here? But like I've never had that much sway when I'm doing archery. It's just like you lock in and then you shoot, and like yeah, you'll get a little bit like if you breathe right before you like, you know, shoot something or whatever, but it just like some of the mechanics in this, it makes me think that the people that are coding these games and have never actually done these things. Like the first time I got hubby to play is it Hero Quest, I think, is like a more diluted, like I think 1980s sort of situation. It's like a bare bones version of D&D, but he started playing that with me, and so I was trying to explain like the martial class and stuff like that in D&D. He's like, no, I just like punch him. Like I would just punch that guy a bunch, and I'm like, yeah, but you actually can't do that because this is a math-based game and everybody else has to like be able to do stuff. Otherwise, everybody would just play like a super strong monk or whatever, and they just like beat the shit out of each other, and then the round would be over, and you wouldn't be getting these like turn-based. You wouldn't get these turn-based combat styles or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but I could absolutely like stalk somebody up in like a 5-minute round. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you wouldn't, but the way that the game is structured is so that like more math-based like magic users or whatever like actually have a shot. because I think it was, oh, what would it have been? I think it was like Reddit or something like that. Was like basically the ultimate hack to like defeating wizards and sorcerers is to just sloppy kiss them so they can't get through their spell. Because if it has a verbal component, like they won't be able, like that's why silence works and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. So yeah, but yeah, once again touching on like, so I'm watching the Mighty Nine and there's a wizard polycule and I'm like, okay, like that tracks. Because wizards and assassins, I feel like are more debaucherous. You know what I mean? Like, also I think druids and elves, like those are pretty safe to be like, oh, they're probably like, getting down and dirty about it. But a paladin being like a homosexual or something like that, I feel like that would have to be part of the backstory that they're like ashamed about it or this or that or whatever, because like it's just not as open of a like character archetype. So like the whole concept of like everybody's gay and nobody's upset about it and it's not weird at all, it's like, okay, but like that's not realistic. And like even if something is like socially acceptable, like you can still feel stigma for it. Like I think it's pretty socially acceptable to be obese, but like people still feel shame about that, and that's why people like sneak and eat. You know what I mean? That's like the crux of like a lot of different eating disorders and stuff like that is like, you know, whether you're dieting, like that in a lot of cultures is totally fine. And if you're not dieting, that in a lot of cultures is totally fine. But people like still, regardless of if something is okay socially for you to do or not, people still like have innate shames about things that are like within themselves. You know what I mean? So the idea that that would just be completely scrubbed clean and omitted from like any work of fiction is just weird to me. You know what I mean? You're missing out on a whole level of like internal conflict, and it's like I don't know if writers nowadays just like don't know how to write internal conflict, or they just like choose not to. They're like, what if it was a world where you could do whatever you wanted? And it's like, okay, well, what's like what is the character fighting against? Like what's the issue at hand? And they just, I don't know. I just don't think that they do like as good at that. Also, continuity has just taken like a like complete absentee from what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if Game of Thrones season 5 to like 7 was anything to go from that, it's like people can't seem to make logical conclusions of like where something's gonna go. Like I find more often than not, sometimes when I'm watching like a mystery or a horror or something like that, and I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. People are just dumbfounded. Like it was, I want to say it's like season 3 or season 4 of Game of Thrones or whatever, when there's the poisoning that happens. I remember sitting there and I'd read the books, and at the time the books hadn't come out um where it was like, oh, so and so did this poisoning or whatever. And I remember sitting on the couch and everybody just like turns to me and they're like, who did it? Who did it? And I was like, what do you mean who did it? Like you didn't see who did it? They showed you. And they're like, what? Oh my gosh. And it's just like media literacy is dead, you guys. Like I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know where like we've just like dropped that particular skill out of like common knowledge, but it's gone. Um, and maybe that's just a thing that like a lot of people just didn't have, and so it just didn't propagate throughout like the different generations because there was just a smaller sample size of it. But it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Where are we at here? Well, that has been, dang, that's been pretty close to our 90-minute stream, you guys. We did it like a teensy bit earlier. So we started at, oh, did we start at 8 or did we start at 9? Must have been started at 8. But we are trying to do a push to affiliate, so um, we're trying to do an average of like 90-minute streams or whatever, so we can pump up the average and get that affiliate perk by the end of December. So for the sake of maintaining that average, I'm going to cut it right now, and then we will hit back on Monday for the gaming stream. I'll be doing a little bit more crafting, maybe potentially, but I think I'm going to start working on embroidery. I'll share some of those with you in the Discord. If you don't already follow, go ahead and follow so you don't miss anything on here. Right now, we're doing a push to affiliate on Twitch specifically, but feel free to follow on your preferred platform. That is all right with me. And join the Discord if you're not already in the Discord. I might only stream an average of twice a week on Mondays and Fridays around 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. But I'm on the Discord every single day. We are just about to reach our Discord Wordle goal of a 100-day streak on Wordle. So I will be making a coconut cake with my mother-in-law in honor of that, as well as to put that recipe in the cookbook I'm working on. I'm working on a book called How to Cook Like My Mother-in-Law. And we have 37 recipes outlined right now of a total 100. So I'm working through that list. The next couple of ones I'm working through are a couple of savory dishes, but keep a lookout for that. I'm also working on the teaser chapters for Moon and Marble and Sun and Steel, an Asian billionaire duet romance that I'm writing. And those teaser chapters should be available by Christmas, I think is my deadline for those. Also, I am putting out the extra spicy DLC for Where the Feedback Ends, which is the second novel I've written, which is on sale right now at a special discounted price because I have a few formatting issues that I'm going to tweak before I release those for paperback. Go ahead and get that right now. It's the best price it's ever going to be at. And then in February, on Valentine's Day, I will release the extra spicy DLC for that book. Additionally, my premiere first novel is a vampire romantasy series that is Born the Eternal, and the first book, Bite, is available now on it as an ebook and paperback. Go ahead and check that out. I have links to that in all my bios. As always, I have been Riley Byrd, and I will